My parents want my sister to walk down the aisle at my wedding first, so my husband pretends to go along. He gets them to pay for the most expensive wedding, and their plan is ruined. My parents loved my sister more. I don't mean in subtle ways, either. If my sister accused me of something, they'd believe it and punish me. If I accused her, they wouldn't believe me. Even if there were undeniable proof, they'd still give her a lesser punishment and try to find a way to scold me in tandem. My birthday cake had to be a flavor she wanted. Hers did not, and my parents always denied knowing I didn't like that type of cake. They always bought her a bit more than for me. We went to where she wanted, even if it was an event that should be about me. My sister grew up spoiled and didn't like me. She just used me as a punching bag. Eventually, my mom came to talk to me about my impending graduation. She told me that since they were paying for my sister's college tuition, they had no money to pay for mine, so it would be better for me to start working immediately after graduation and wait until my sister finished uni to see if they could afford something for me. If I decided to stay home, I'd have to pay for all my stuff, some of the bills, and rent. I pointed out I could get student loans. Mom said yes, except no. That is, because they were so caring towards me, and I had such bad judgment, they would decide if a college was worth my getting in debt or not. They had no idea about my grades and never believed in my capabilities. I never believed they would eventually pay it if I worked and waited for my sister to graduate. I had been preparing for college for a long time. I could barely go out. My friendships were slim, so I had a lot of time to study. I studied because I saw college as my only chance to be free. Well, the time came, and I worked my ass off and got a scholarship. Not anywhere like the Ivy League or anything like law or medical school, but it was a good enough course in a decent college with a full scholarship. Knowing my sister would hate it and try to stop me via my parents, I put my achievements on social media at the same time I told them. I even forced myself to thank them in the post. They weren't happy but couldn't do anything. College was my savior. I started being happy. I met my husband around this time. My husband is the guy who claps back immediately. He loves drama in that he loves to resolve it. He's the guy that if he doesn't immediately reply to a slight, you better start worrying because he won't forgive and forget. He's just doing something worse for revenge. When we discussed marriage, we decided we didn't care much about the ceremony due to our budget, as we'd rather spend on a dream trip to Europe for our honeymoon. We sent out the engagement announcement and the save the date for a few months later. At this point, my parents naturally demanded that they meet my man. My parents and my sister sat him down. After grumbling about not being okay with him, my judgment, etc., they proclaimed they would pay for my wedding. My sister would walk down the aisle at my wedding first, in a wedding dress. Their excuse was that it wasn't okay for a younger sister to marry first, so it was only fair if my sister had at least the experience of it. On my venue, with pictures being taken, and the dress, and she'd have a cake later, etc., he went back to my parents. He said he probed and thought I wouldn't be down with it. However, he didn't see the issue and, not wanting the family to fall apart, would be down to helping them do it. He pointed out I don't like conflict, so if I was surprised by it, I might not throw a tantrum in front of all the people. Thus, he suggested a compromise. They'd help pay for stuff. This way, I would feel even more pressure not to say anything, as not only would we be public, but I'd be grateful for the help they gave, which mollify me. And so began the months of deception, where my parents and sister thought they were tricking me, and my husband and I were milking them. How? Well, rather than pay for the wedding and lay low, my parents wanted input in everything. What we did was thus: we'd go, say, to check the drink and menu options. We'd then accept the lowest or second lowest priced option. My husband would then secretly take my sister there to try it out, then sigh and say it's a pity we don't want to abuse my parents' goodwill so we wouldn't get the best options. Cue my sister demanding my parents pay for the best. My parents would then tell me not to worry, and they'd pay for the most expensive. The same was done with the photographer. Flowers. My husband handed my sister a bouquet of the flowers we wanted, then sadly expressed how I wanted some other, tasteless flower.